my sales time. Gonna bust up your behind. This is my sales time. Gonna mess up your whole mind. This is my sales time. Gonna bust up your behind. This is my sales time. Gonna mess up your whole mind.
Welcome to Work the Left Side. I'm happy to announce, I'm hyper hyped to announce tonight's guest. I am joined by the Pirate of the Seven Seas, Mr. Arthur Skurro. How are we doing, buddy? You good?
I'm all good. How are you?
Hey, I am gravy. I'm fine. I'm 5x5. Too blessed to be stressed, as the saying goes. So, looking forward to this, though, because obviously, you know, we've had it in the pipelines for a while. Been wanting you on the show for ages, just kind of biding my time a little bit. And then, yeah, here you are. So, you know, and it comes nicely as well, because obviously, you know, you was at Tidal in December, so I finally got to see you in person as well, which was very, very cool. So, yeah, I'm all good. How did you find, obviously, we'll get to last Sunday's Tidal show, but you made your debut as part of Team Santa. How was that?
Yeah, it was great. You know, I really like Tidal. You know, it's the second time I've come up now. First time I was just there creeping, I would say, sitting out the back, having a little look around, seeing what's what, and then yeah, got invited to have fun. It obviously didn't go the way I wanted it to. I got kicked in the head and then dropped on my head, and was the only one eliminated out of the match from my team. So there was conversations had afterwards.
I can imagine, but you know, you looked good in the match, dude. You got, you know, you were kicking off and taking names, I shall say. Yeah, and obviously unfortunate, you know, the kick in the head during the match, but you definitely made an impression. I know a lot of people I was talking to after the show thoroughly enjoyed seeing you. I thought you did awesome, and you know, are hyped to see you back at Tidal at some point. So, regardless of the elimination, you know, you did a good job. So, kudos.
Yeah, I think I got a decent flurry of offense out there before the unfortunate events. Yeah, before my spine was compressed a little bit by Dara. First tombstone that I've been on the receiving end of. So that was yeah, the clips of that do not look particularly pretty, but it was fine. Yeah, no, it was good to be there, and I am looking forward to coming back. And I know you've already sort of alluded to the Sunday just gone championship match slipping right the way through my fingers at the last minute, which is unfortunate, but waiting for the next one.
Yeah, exactly, man. You got given one chance in the locker. You're not going to not get another one at some point. And that's the thing as well. Like I say, you made your debut in December, and you were up for you were supposed to be in the Iron Will title match. Obviously, Sunday just gone. For me, that, you know, that speaks volumes, dude. You turn up at one show, make an impression, and then you know, you've got a title shot. Not everybody gets that, so that kind of shows how you got over.
No, very lucky, very honoured as well. You know, to be thrown straight into the title picture, especially after, like say, after a debut in December, especially for the Iron Will Championship as well. Lovely little stipulation on that, where you know every defense is an Iron Man match. Not done one before, so that was really like on the top of what I wanted to do this year, and to start off my year really nicely, really strongly, and obviously to walk away with some gold. That's what I'm about. But obviously, you know, Vusic's a big boy. He's a tough boy. Chris Aries he loves a fight, and I know he's got a mean right foot, as I experienced in December and a few other times around different areas of the country. He's a tough boy. He needs to. Runs in the family. And obviously Ronnie Knox was supposed to be in there as well. And I've seen Ronnie in several different locations. I know Ronnie didn't end up making the show either. But Ronnie will tie you in a knot before you've even realised you've been tied in a knot. And one of the most technically gifted individuals I've seen in the ring. So yeah, I was really, really looking forward to it. And I'll stop alluding to it. I got hurt. I got hurt, and that was why I wasn't able to make the show. I ended up being able to get some physio on the Sunday. Luckily, my PT's physiotherapist. Well, he's got some physio experience. Managed to help do me some work with me on Sunday, so that's why I didn't even come up to sort of be backstage and at least show my face, because that was what I was going to do.
It's an 8-hour round trip though, isn't it, dude? So I don't think anybody faults you for not sitting in the car for 4 hours. So it's your shoulder, isn't it? Was it your shoulder that you? Yeah.
So yeah, I've had a real bad run of form actually, because obviously my April last year I dislocated my left shoulder. Really simply, I did a middle rope crossbody, and I'm going to name drop him. It was right onto Michael Oku. Less than a year into my wrestling journey, and I'm crossbodying Michael Oku and dislocating my shoulder. Popped it back in, carried on going. It came out again later on in the match. So I was out from there. It took me 3 months to come back, which was a lot quicker than they said. They originally said between 4 and 5 months before I could get back in the ring, and I was back on shows in 3. 27th of April was the dislocation, and my first match back was on the 7th of July.
Dude, I mean, that's hardcore. Anyway, I don't know. Obviously, I'm of a certain age. I love my films. I'm just getting images of like Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon, where he just pops back and joints like, "Pah!" Like that is the epicenter. That is just the embodiment of just hardness, of toughness. So that's coolness personified.
Adrenaline's such a wonderful thing, because where I've landed sort of with my arms like this, the shoulder came up. So all I've had to do is grab the top of it and basically pull down, and it popped back in. But later on, what had happened was it had dropped down rather than up, and then locked itself underneath sort of like the socket joint.
Yeah.
So like lifting it up wasn't possible. So I was lucky. There was no bone breaks. There was no fractures. There was no muscle damage. It was just the ball's out the socket. We just need to put it back and then rehab after that. In October, I was in a seminar with Eric Young, and I did a flying clothesline, dropped to a knee at the end of it rather than throw my legs out, and damaged my MCL. This is wearing knee pads as well. It was just, again, completely fluke, something really simple. Bruised that. Had to then limit. I didn't stop, but I limited a lot of what I did in the back end of the year just to try and work around it, because I was absolutely adamant I was taking no more time off after the dislocation. And then a couple of weeks break off for Christmas and New Year, let it relax, let it heal. I was feeling really good. 3rd of January comes along, I hit a gym session. I go and do a wrestling drill session with Tommy Kyle that evening. Final drill, jump off the top rope to hit a shoulder roll on the landing, and my leg gives out from underneath me, and I plant my right shoulder this time straight into the mat. And a week later found out that I separated it.
Dude.
All 3 simple things.
At least you found out though, because I can imagine some people, not taking the time out to check, and then just making it worse. If you kind of found out about it and you're able to kind of rehab it a little bit, because a minor thing now could have been a huge thing in 12 months' time or something if you hadn't realised.
Yeah, I am lucky, because shoulder separation sounds really bad, but there's a joint right on the top, and what happened was it seemed to have slipped out and then slipped itself back in. So the tendons and the soft tissue around my shoulder are damaged and do need some rehab. I do have some limited movement in certain areas. If in another world, maybe if I was a little bit younger, maybe I would have tried my luck a little bit more at the weekend. But given where I am now, and with the previous injuries to my shoulders and how long I know that can take, I wasn't taking any chances this weekend. I've got a whole year of dates that I want to make sure that I can do as many of as humanly possible. But in an ideal world, 100% of them. But yeah, I've seen people work through injuries in matches and end up just causing so much more lasting damage. It's not worth it. I'm not I'm not at the level at the moment where it's a living wage. It is still something that I do on weekends. It is still something that I do in my own sort of spare time, and I have to be mindful of that at times. Sometimes it's very, very difficult to forget that it's not, at this point, it's not a full-time job.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's kind of keeping your feet grounded, being realistic about it, like you sort of said. But you're working smart. Like I said, just take a little bit of time out as opposed to taking a much longer time out, or it being like career-threatening kind of thing down the line because you didn't deal with it like you have done now. So, I personally, from my limited experience and speaking to people that I know of who have had injuries and stuff, you made the right call. I don't think anybody would fault you for not sitting in, like I said, for not sitting in a car for 8 hours, because that's bad enough at times. You've got to make sure that you're fidgeting all the time and just being, whoever was sat in the back with you would just be getting annoyed at you anyway. So, don't need to.
It was a long day from what I heard. My brother still wrestled on the card, and he left at, I think it was about before 9:30 in the morning, and I think he got back at 1 a.m.
Yeah,
it's a long old day.
Show finished at about 7:30, 8 o'clock. I want to say about 7:30, I think. So obviously, once everything was tidied up and everything like that, and conversations had, and buys and hugs and handshakes, it's probably out the door by about 9 o'clock. So probably like I would say about 1ish. So.
Yeah, and he was dropping RJ and Skip off as well down sort of Stevenage way. So it's sort of like come down, drop off here, and then sort of another hour across back home. So it added an extra couple of hours to his journey.
Dude, I mean, that's the thing. Obviously, so that's why I'm really grateful for seeing you. Well, you coming up in December. Obviously, when you come up later on in the year. Obviously, Chris as well. Spike. Some of the other guys that come up from what we'll class as being the south. You guys generally don't come up to Yorkshire that much, which is why I'm really grateful for Tidal, because they kind of pull you guys up. I think it's obviously Tarja's got she's from the south originally, so I think she knows a lot of people down there, so she gets you all up. I know it's a long ass drive, so it's kind of like, as a fan, really happy to see you up here, but I do feel, because I'm just like, mate, that is just, I can't even imagine. I hate being in a car for more than a couple of hours maximum. 4 hours either way, I'm just going insane. But that is wrestling. You read any biography, you read any sort of documentary, or watch any documentary about any wrestler talking about it, and they'll tell you about road trips. They'll tell you about stories in the car. What a learning experience it can be, just being sat in a car, depending on who else is in that car.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the conversations you have as well, like in the car, like sometimes you can be talking about ideas, sometimes you can be on the way back, just sort of talking about the show and just sort of breaking it down. I think we make it, my brother and I especially, make it more difficult for ourselves, because I'll take December as an example. We were in the opening match on the show. If we wanted to, we could have come up, we could have done our match, and we could have gone home, and we'd have been home at a really reasonable time. But we love the whole experience of a wrestling show too much. Like, we love watching other people do their thing, and to be able to provide them feedback and talk to them about their match, or even learn something from watching it. It was Spike versus Mandrews in the main event of that card. How often do you get an opportunity to be able to be in a locker room with them and to watch them? It was a first time ever matchup. Do you know what I mean? Nobody else ever has seen that singles match, except for the people that were in that room that day, and so that was important to us, to be able to sort of see those two top professionals go at it, and also just, we love being around the fans. Obviously, selling merch is one thing, but like genuinely just talking to people. How did people find the show? Is what, like, you sometimes overhear conversations about things that people are like, oh, well, maybe this would have been pretty cool. Okay, cool. You can pick that up for next time. Like, the whole experience, building the ring, taking the ring down, it's doing all those things, and not being one of those people that just sort of comes in, does their bits, and goes. We're very much in it for the day and the social and the communication, and like building relationships with people. Like, I think that's equally as important as getting in the ring and doing your bumps.
Yeah, I've had this conversation so many times. Just the word networking, is key. That's kind of like, you can have all the ability in the world, but if you don't network, you're not
Yeah,
getting anywhere, or you don't make that interaction with people, or you don't make that connection. You're going to have limited chances. So, and again, obviously, as a fan, we love seeing you guys after the show, especially somewhere like Tidal. We always kind of try and hang around for 10, 15 minutes afterwards, get to speak to people. It's always nice to, I think I was lucky enough to manage. I got to speak to you at the December show face to face. I got to speak to Chris Sunday just gone. It's just nice to have a catch up kind of thing. Because obviously, I kind of speak to you guys a fair bit on socials. So it's just nice to actually meet you face to face and shake your hand and be like, you basically.
Yeah, it's different, isn't it? Like we do have all this technology where you can speak to people. It's great, but sometimes there's nothing better than being able to look someone genuinely in the eye and have a conversation, or just be in that sort of in that physical space with all the emotion that can sometimes run with a show. I've had so many experiences now. I've been, very lucky in some of the situations, some of the stories that we've told, that people have been able to come up and just sort of talk about how it's made them feel, or how much they've enjoyed being on that journey with us and stuff like that. And that's, I mean, that's better than anything else. I do it because I love it. But if people aren't enjoying what I'm doing, regardless of whether I'm supposed to be being cheered or booed, what's the point? I'm doing something wrong. Do you know what I mean? So it is about the entertainment for other people, regardless of what I want to do at times.
Obviously, I could sit here and talk about this kind of stuff for a long time. Want to try and hype you up, talk about, obviously, we mentioned off camera, you're one day away from holding the legacy title you're a day short of 200 days.
Yeah, 199 today.
Oh, dude, that's very, very cool. I'm sure we'll get back to Tyler at some point down the line, but let's not neglect other people, or let's not overlook, like I say, a 200 day -1 title reign. That's impressive, dude. That should be shouted about.
Yeah, well, I'm not defending it today or tomorrow, so it's definitely going to be a 200-day reign, unless they know something I don't. There's. I'd be interested to know, actually, if I know when my next defense is going to be. Nobody else does at the moment, but it'd be interesting for me to work out what it'll be by the time I get to that date. Yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, no, like UBW is such a close place for me. Like I trained at Square One, which is the academy that is linked to UBW, is run and owned by Hugo Bloom, who he owns UBW and the academy. Just to quickly hype up the academy, by the way, if anyone is near Hitchin, it is a now 3-story state-of-the-art gym. It is incredible, brand new studio, 2 floors of gym equipment, and we have a 16-foot training ring right down the end, screens above it, and it's also being kitted out at some point for us to be able to run shows within the academy itself. It's insane, honestly, like all brand new Gym 80 equipment, unreal. I wish I lived a little bit closer, so I'd be in there all the time. But it's insane. And I started training there in August 2023. So not that long ago. No, was it 23? It might have been. No, it would have been August 2022. Sorry, because I debuted in May 23. So yeah, it was August 22. So training just over 2 years now, which sometimes I have to remind myself that it's only been 2 years since I started training, because I put a lot of pressure on myself. Yeah, I want everything to be perfect, and actually a lot of the more experienced people will tell you don't start feeling comfortable until maybe 5-6 years, maybe more, and you're always going to be learning. So that's something I try and remind myself of. But yeah, they gave me my first opportunity. Debuted in May 23 at a Square One Academy show. 2 months, literally not even 2 months. The next month, I had my first singles match at UBW on a main show. And then the next day, well, literally I finished that show and I had a DM from United Wrestling saying, we've got a spot tomorrow. Do you want to come? Like, can you bring your gear? Because they knew I was coming anyway. And I was like, yeah. So within a month, I've wrestled like 2 promotions, 3 if you want to split the Square One and UBW sort of thing. And then it took off from there. And I've not looked back. But yeah, so to now, like after, I think it was just over it. Like, I mean, to be fair, if I take out my injury time, it was probably about a year from debut to title win in terms of experience. But it was 14 months in total, debut to title. And I'm very honoured. I wasn't even wrestling or fighting for the actual championship that I hold. That was a surprise. So it was about probably, the story had lasted about a year. In the July, I had my first match against Vinnie Cray, and from there, it ended up culminating on the 7th of July last year in a main event street fight for what was then the Young Lions Championship. My first match back from injury was a main event street fight for a championship. That was why I rehabbed so hard. Like that, I couldn't let that slip. That was the goal the whole time, was to come back for that match. It was my first ever main event. I've been lucky enough to have a couple since then, singles and tag main events. But yeah, that was the first one. I actually have the poster here because the show was also themed after me. I don't know how well this is going to show up, but it was called, it's not going to show very well because of the blur, but it's called X Marks the Spot, and there's my face. We'll leave Vinny's out of the way.
Yeah.
But it was, first match back from injury. The show's sort of themed after me. I'm in the main event, and I'm winning my first championship, and then post match, it's not my music that I hear playing. It's Hugo Bloom's, and he comes out and he's got a little black bag with him, and he presents me with a brand new championship that nobody else has ever held, and I've got a shiny UBW Legacy Championship with a lovely bright blue strap and a gold plate, and it's stunning. And I am 6 defenses in now.
Wow. So it's not like, you've got it and not even, it's not like you're not defending it. So you actually, you're a fighting champ, standing tall. Dude, that's awesome. Because like, so I'm again, I know different people, different mindsets. I've had this conversation numerous times. But for me, like when you get a belt, it's like getting a promotion. It's like getting, you're being entrusted to take the next step. They can see your value, they can see your worth. And they're like, basically, here's a promotion, here's the belt. We're putting this on your shoulders because we trust you to carry it, kind of thing.
It does change things. It does change your mentality. So like, it's not our top prize in UBW. It is what most people call a mid-card belt, a workhorse belt. It is more akin to the United States or the Intercontinental Championship, just as a WWE comparison. But sometimes that's where you have the most fun, at that sort of level. And I'm lucky, I've been able to even main event a couple shows since winning that title on, in UBW. So it has been 2 shows that I've main evented with that title. So that's also an honor as well. It's not just holding the title, but it's and like I said, I'm still less than 2 years on shows, and I'm being trusted to main event shows of people who have bought tickets to come and see wrestling, and that's still a bit weird to me. And some people might go, come on, it's fine, but no, for me it's still everything like that. All those little statistics of like how many main events I've been in, or on what shows, and what it was for, whether it was even for anything in it, whether it was just like my next goal is to be in a main event match where there isn't a championship on the line, where there's something else. Do you know what I mean? Where it's the story just means so much more. than the actual championship does, because you can put a championship in any scenario and all of a sudden it makes the match more important. But if you can build something else outside of that picture, that's also that's hard to do, and it's impressive if you can do it and you can pull it off and people are invested. But yeah, I am, very truly honored to hold that championship, and I am gunning for more.
Dude, that's a perfect kind of analogy. Like I said, you expect the main event to be the title match. So if you can be in the main event and the belt's not on the line, it's because there's so much more on stakes. People are so much more emotionally invested. It's just kind of like, that's a story within itself. But the secondary titles, dude, are just as important as the primary ones for a lot of people. Like you said, the IC belt. As a wrestling fan, I've probably got fonder memories of the IC belt than I have the world belt. Because, the Mr. Again, showing my age, but it's still like the Mr. Perfects or the Bret Harts or the Shawn Michaels, the Razor Ramones. They were the guys that could wrestle, that held the belts.
And in recent history, they're your week-to-week champions. They're the people you see defending every single week. I mean, not necessarily at the moment, but those are the people that you see all the time. I would say more so the US Championship at the moment. And like your Codys and your Romans and your Gunters, you might not see them for defend anyway for 3 or 4 weeks, maybe longer. So those are they are incredibly important. Championship's a championship. You got to hold it like it means absolutely everything, and that's exactly what I do.
Dude, that's it. That's perfect. But again, that's just absolutely mind blowing. Like I said, you're still so, in comparison to a lot of people, you're still in such an infancy state of your journey that to be able to do this, to main event shows within the first couple of years is mind blowing, because that's something again, that's a whole lot of pressure, and to have that confidence to be able to go out there and do it once is cool. To have done such a good job on the first one that you get to do it again, that's very.
I think I'm on 4 main events now, and I suspect this year I've probably got a couple more coming. And every single time, to me, is incredible. I know obviously quite a lot of other wrestlers, and I'm in a few different chats and things like that, and I hear people being like, "Oh, the main event's so annoying because I'm just waiting around ages for me to go out." And I don't know whether it's me just still being naive or young within the sort of industry, but I'm like, I love that. I love knowing that I'm in the main event, or I am the main event, and it might be in front of less than 100 people. It doesn't matter to me. Like, it's still an achievement to be classed as. And it's not always that you're necessarily the talent to see on this show. It basically means that your match probably means the most, or you've built something towards it, or and there are times where actually you are the talent to see on that show. So that it's just really cool for me personally. I'll take it every single time someone goes, "You're the main event." Yep, wicked, lovely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yep, I'll take that. Thank you very much.
Because you don't know before how long before that's not even an option anymore. I guess that's, for me, I'm so grateful for everything. I started wrestling late. I was how old am I now? I'm 30 now. So I started training when I was 28. And I know that in comparison to a lot of other people I know, I'm on more limited time than they are. I've already had a couple of not too serious, but serious enough injuries in a short space of time that I'm already starting to realize that I maybe only have 5, 6, maybe 8 years, if I'm lucky, where I can perform at a level that I want to perform at. And then I might have to start, restricting things and stuff. And I know, some people at the moment, they're still wrestling in their late 40s, early 50s, and they're doing it to an incredible standard. So if I'm lucky enough, I'll be one of those people. But I also want to be realistic that in terms of my prime years, I maybe have 10 at a push. So I want to make the most of that. I've got goals. I know where I want to be. I know where my ceiling is. I'm not going to be signing anything with WWE or AEW. or any form of contract, I don't think. But there are places independently within the UK and Europe, maybe the US, that I'd love to be able to wrestle for and do, and just get to a point where people want me to be on their shows, I guess, as the next goal. I'm still at that point now where I'm still doing a lot of the legwork and a lot of the outreach, which is understandable at this point in my career. But I want to get to a point where I'm busy and I'm not having to do any legwork.
That's it, I mean, like I sort of said, you are still within that infancy stage. What you're doing is, looking through the matches you've been in, the shows you've been on, being somewhere like Tidal. I'm not, bigging it up too much kind of thing, but just being up here, expanding your radius of bookings within the first 2 or 3 years of your journey is awesome, mate. Don't undersell that. Be very, very proud of yourself for what you've done so far, because it is amazing. But yeah, that's me. There you go. Be proud of yourself, dude, because what you've done so far is awesome. But yeah, and I think the more, especially like when we see you back at Tidal, when stories start getting told, when we start seeing what you can sort of do, when it's not like a 4-on-4 tag team, when you've got in that ring with just one other person or 2 other people, or we can see what you can do when you're telling stories, when you're pulling emotion out of the audience, kind of thing. I think that'll get people's attentions, and that'll be when you start taking the next step and the next step and the next step, and more promotions will be like, oh shit, we've got a guy here who can wrestle. He can make the fans feel something during the matches, and he can get them on the edge of the seats, and you can tell a story.
That's what it's about for me, because you can do the coolest moves in the world. People will remember it, but the way you make someone feel is a lasting feeling more than anything else. Like, people will remember like the day they were in tears when their favorite won the championship. When Edge returns at the Royal Rumble, for example, like that feeling. That's something that doesn't go away every time. Yeah, I've got it as well. Like, just saying it, like, I've got tingles. But if you go, oh yeah, I remember when I saw this guy do like a 450 Canadian Destroyer onto the apron, you don't get that same reaction emotionally. And don't get me wrong, wrestling moves are cool, sequences are cool, like they're great. But if you can marry that perfectly within a story and make someone walk out feeling something, whether that's hate or love or just general happiness, or just like, oh, I had such a great time, well, that was such a great match, and just be on a bit of a buzz from it, yeah, job done. And that's the perfect balance.
That's it. And I think, again, anybody who watches these or has watched previous interviews will have heard me on this soapbox kind of thing, where that's for me the importance of characters. And I love that characters are becoming more of a thing again in wrestling. We went through a period where people were just, themselves, Joe Blogs, blah, blah, blah. There wasn't real characters, and they're back again now. Over the last couple of years, they're back, and people are using them smartly. They've kind of realized again, it's like, well, if I've got a character, I can tell a story. People get emotionally connected to a character more than they do just to a Joe Blogs.
Yep.
And smaller things mean more, and you're pulling on emotions. It's heartstrings, it's happiness, it's joy, it's tears of sorrow. And honestly, man, I'm talking to a pirate.
It's yeah, and I think for me the benefit of like characters and being a character and being able to work within the sort of brackets of what that kind of person would do is so much more fun, and you can explore so much more. But also, to a new crowd, it's so obvious. Someone who's never heard my name, who's never seen me before, or anything like that, can piece together very quickly, this guy's a pirate. Pirates are cool. And that's enough then to get someone behind you or against you, depending on what you want, very, very quickly, because it doesn't take long to understand. If you come out and you are just like, I'm a generic fighter and I like to fight, and you have very and this is no shade on anyone who does this sort of stuff, because it's so difficult to come up with like a gimmick and or a character or an idea, but it is so much harder for crowds to get behind you if there's no charisma or obviousness to what you're doing. Music, an instant appearance, that first 5 seconds through the curtain is so important. And that was one thing that I felt that was really, really difficult at Tidal actually back in December. Our team came out to me, Chris, and Ian came out to Ian's music, which is an absolute lovely music. It's banging, and an absolute tune, but it wasn't my music. And I was very much like, can I put this across without it? And without that all eyes on you moment, all of a sudden there's 3 of you doing stuff. It's not your music. Are you going to fall into the background and people go, who's this guy? Whereas when you have that, it's just your music and it's just you and you have that attention, all of a sudden you can put a lot more out there because everyone's taking that in. So, you work around these things. They're good challenges to have laid out in front of you.
Like I said, yeah, you had that time. I totally get that because I was there, and yeah, because all 3 of you came out at the same time, so I'm kind of looking forward to like when you're there and you get your match and you get just your intro, your entrance, because then the fans know you, they've seen what you can do, but they haven't fully experienced what you can do. I mean, that includes. That's the whole parcel kind of thing, the total package. That's the intro, that's the music, that's just you getting in the mindset when you're walking out before you even get in the ring. It's all part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've still got that to look forward to at Tidal.
Oh yeah, it's coming, and I'm looking forward to it. But that's just sort of going back to what you said earlier about sort of like branching out and stuff like that. Being at Tidal we are lucky to get more eyes in the north. There's still very much a north-south divide in wrestling. There isn't a lot of crossover, and that's something that I know that there's a few of us in sort of my group that really want to break through that and try and be traveling up a lot more. I've got family up north, so it makes it very easy for me to stay over if I need to and do multiple shows over weekends and stuff. So I'm having conversations. Hopefully I'll be in the north more at different places with it before the end of the year.
Good. Well, I will keep flying away as well. I'll keep plugging up. Like, pirates belong up in the north, man. You don't just belong down in the south. We've got bays and ships and stuff up north. We've got like
loads more coast. Yeah.
Liverpool. The Newcastle have got. I'm sure you can. Yeah, plenty of places for you to board up and port your ship or whatever the technical term is for. Yeah, dude, that's amazing. I'm obviously, like I said, talking about being down south. Sacrifice is obviously a promotion I know you work with, and always a promotion I like to shout out as of when I get a chance. Also, I don't get to do it a lot because I'd mainly speak to people more. There's that north-south divide all over this, but yeah, when I do speak to people from your neck of the woods, Sacrifice are an amazing promotion who do a hell of a lot of good stuff, and they deserve a lot of eyes on them.
Oh, incredible promotion run by incredible people, an amazing locker room full of very like-minded individuals. It is a charity promotion. It is not, nobody in that locker room is getting paid to be there, and yet month after month when they run their shows, that locker room is stacked full of people. There is multi-mans happening. There is chaos. There are people telling stories. There are people, still wrestling to their full ability, and it's incredible. And we are now getting to the point where we're regularly selling out these shows. Everybody who is on merch, everybody who does music, everybody who does commentary, they are all volunteers. There's not a single person in that room being paid for their time to work that show. And we still put on an incredible show. Big shout out to Ace and to Hustle, who do an unreal job with booking, with storytelling, with listening to the locker room, which I think is so important. Like regularly, we get questions of like, what do we think about these ideas? Does anybody have any matches they want to run? Does anybody have any story ideas that they'd like to be involved in? And they will listen to those and they will take them on board and they will run with them. And that is a place where you can really let your creative juices flow. And the footage is fantastic, and the video packages are fantastic, and the socials are amazing. It is just brilliant. And once a year, we break all wrestling conventions and do Wet Cake Pro Wrestling. I say we; it's the sister promotion of Sacrifice Pro, and it's a highlight of everyone's year.
You know it's going to come up in conversation. I mentioned it before we started.
Yeah, I knew you wanted to talk about it, and it just felt like a really good way of bringing it in.
Yeah, Wet Cake. Obviously, if anybody doesn't know, go check it out, because it's possibly one of the best names for any promotion ever, anywhere. Yeah, like I say, closely associated with, obviously Sacrifice. Yeah, what's the crack? Why? What's the deal?
It's a fever dream of wrestling. It is every stupid idea that you could ever think of to put on a show that one night of the year, every year, just happens. It's crazy. You have to see it to believe it. And all of Sacrifice's footage is fully edited. It's in really high quality, including Wet Cake, all on the YouTube channel. Like, it is free, it is available. Like, please watch it. Like, it's so good. But Wet Cake in particular is just insane. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. You'd be walking through the locker room and there's people just dressed up, people wearing each other's gear, just to do silly spots. You've got aliens, and you've got like animals, and you've got wrestlers that tie themselves together and call themselves Bridge. And it is, we've got inflatables. My first Wet Cake experience, I say mine. Yeah, I'm going to say mine. It was in an interspecies battle royale, intergalactic species battle royale. It was there was a Demigorgon, there was a panda, there was a Charmander. It was everything you could possibly imagine. I was dressed as a flamingo. Not sure if you're familiar with the lads, but they used to have Floyd the Flamingo. It's an inflatable swimming ring. So I did a real life version of Floyd, and Alex Echo came out of retirement in the main event to tag with me very, very briefly, which was very, very funny, very cool. And I mean, the matches like this year, we did Wet Cake Pro the movie. So there was a literal dog in the ring being handled by men in green morph suits. I was involved in that as well. And I was Napoleon Arthur Skurro. It was crazy. It is always crazy. I can't even explain it. Like, I'm a loss for words explaining Wet Cake. It is just nuts. And watching it on YouTube is funny, but there is nothing that beats seeing that live. Like, I was lucky enough at the last one to be in the opening. I'll call it a match. I'm going to call it a segment. I think I can call it a match. And I quickly got changed and got myself out to the bar, and I wasn't driving that night, or sailing, I should say. A few rums and a few beers down me while watching the rest of the show was just one of the best ways to spend a day. It was incredible. Sacrifice is a very special place, just on a personal level, even more so than a wrestling level. When mine and Chris Aries' granddad was unfortunately dying with cancer, passed away in April last year. But in the January, Chris had a show named after him, and it was the first show where I got to work one of my coaches in Tommy Kyle in a singles match. That show was raising money for Prostate Cancer UK for us and for my granddad. So just on a personal level, as well as just how good it is to be as part of a locker room, like, that place means so much more to me because of what they did for me and what they did for my family.
It's amazing. Obviously, I will put the link to their YouTube channel in the episode description. So if you're not aware of Sacrifice, what they do, go look in the description, go click on the link, go check them out. Subscribe on YouTube. 'Cause it's one of those things. The more eyes they get on the prize, the better. Raise awareness what they're doing. Amazing. So, like I say, that's why I always like to shout them out if I can, just because.
Yeah, they're amazing place. Like truly. And if anyone does come down south and they want to watch some wrestling and Sacrifices running, please come watch. They're in Bedford. It's a great venue. Yeah, come check it out. It's great.
We've kind of gone this long, and I haven't asked. We've kind of touched on your training, obviously, when you got into it and everything like that. I would be amiss. I kind of my OCD will kick in if I don't ask the one generic question. Why did you get into wrestling? What made you, as you sort of said, you're sort of 27, 28 when you kind of took them steps. What kind of finally made you be like, what, fuck it, let's do it. Let's go be pirate.
It's a combination of quite a few different things. So I didn't know for a long time that there was even an independent scene in the UK. Like, I had no idea. I enjoyed wrestling a lot more when I was younger. I sort of fallen out of love with it. Not fallen out of love, but just sort of like drifted away from it. I came back to watching wrestling in like 2018, 19. It was just it was before COVID that me and my brother went to go and watch a Monday Night Raw in London at the O2. He had a spare ticket and was like, "Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Yeah, go on then." And then just like immediately just fell back in love with it, just seeing it live again, and just the emotion, the crowd, the music, and everything else. And I was like, "Oh, why have I stopped watching this? It's so good." Straight back in it from that point. But I was working in a prison service at the time, and I was also playing American football in my spare time. Like, that literally jammed up most of my time. Fast forward to 2021, I get a job where I get to work from home 3 days a week and have all my weekends off, and still playing American football at this point. And in the sort of end of the season of 2022, there's a lot of politics that start happening amongst the team. I'm not particularly pleased with how things are going and how things are running. I don't want to be involved in this whole situation where I've got to pick a side between a group of players that are rebelling against the head coach, or I've got to pick the head coach's side. It wasn't for me. I was like, I do this for fun. It's not, yeah. And the difference is I like paid to play. There's a lot of subscriptions and stuff involved, and subs and everything else with American football. And I just decided I'm going to walk away. And in that sort of period of time, my brother was wrestling. And I'd finally managed to get down to a couple of shows. And the first show I ever watched my brother on, he was wrestling against CJ Carter and Charles Crowley, and he was teaming with Truman Roswell. It was an incredible match, like tag match. Obviously, Chris was considerably smaller and less refined and developed as he is now. He's absolutely fantastic now, and I'm not saying that he wasn't good then. But like the difference in him now, putting like the two of them together, you wouldn't say they're the same person. But I got introduced to Charles Crowley at the end of the show, and he was like, "Oh, there's something here. You should wrestle. Like, look, you should wrestle." And for every show I went to after that point, there was people who were like, "Oh, you should think about doing this. You're a big guy. You could have a lot of fun with it and stuff." And I was just like, was considering it, but kept putting it off because I was very much like, this is my brother's thing, and I don't want to step on his toes and sort of. But even he at times was like, "You'd really enjoy it. You come and have some fun." And I was like, "Nah, look, it's your thing." And one day I was working from home, and I just got an email from Hugo at the academy that just says, "There's 50 quid in an account your parents have put there for you to put towards some training. It's all yours. Tell me when you want to book it." So I topped up and spent £100 on 5 1-to-1s, so 5 hours of training. And for the first 5 weeks I was 1-to-1 training and haven't turned back. Loved every minute of it. Started going to group sessions, and now I've trained in different places and done lots of different seminars, and now I'm on shows and I'm spending ungodly amounts of money on gear and merch and new boots that haven't yet been worn because of the injury. So yeah, Tidal was supposed to be the debut of my brand new personalized boots, and I have to hold that off until February now.
Good. But I suppose, yeah, wrestling, you got to spend money to make money, or you know, to support kind of thing. Because obviously, obviously you're a time when you come out, boss. Obviously, Chris is kind of leveled up with his gear. Saw him at the weekend with the sword and the armor and everything like that. It's just like it's starting to look like you mean business kind of thing. It's like obviously you guys have always meant business, but the more you do it, the more you're building up, the more the character develops. You start just fine tuning, tweaking it, like say enhancing stuff. And it just starts to look better, and it looks better, and it looks better, and it looks better. Where did you come up with the pirate idea? Because again, age thing. I remember Paul Burchill back in the day. It's like would be a massive no-no for a lot of wrestling people because they're like, oh shit, remember Paul Burchill? Yeah, nobody ever says that with a smile, nicely.
It's so I've told the story a few times, but it was actually my coach Paul Ash who pushed me more towards considering the pirate stuff. I hadn't even considered it when I was coming up with what I wanted to do and how I wanted to portray myself. There was lots of generic things, and I want to be a bad guy, and I want to be all dark and twisted, and I want to do this and I want to do that, and then I sort of settled on. I was going to try and do something not carnival related, but more clown related, but very dark. And a lot of people were like, "It's been done. Like, stay away from that sort of stuff." Like even now, if you sort of look up and down the country at several different promotions, there is lots of clowns and there is lots of sort of that style of gimmick, which is, I like it personally. It's just you don't need too much because otherwise it's going to make your spot on a card harder if that's in a lot of places that you want to go, right? So for me, it was trying to find that niche of what are people not doing. And I had some pictures taken and I'd put on the eyeliner and I've done the makeup, and I was wearing this like short black jacket, very similar to like Black Parade, My Chemical Romance style coat that I'd bought for my entrance. And Paul turned to me and just said, kind of look a little bit like Jack Sparrowy in this. And then like you could see something flick in his head and his eyes widen, and he just looked at me and was like, why don't we? Would you? And I was like, let me think on it. And I spent 2 days thinking about it. And the only reason, Paul Burchill is one of the reasons why I had to think about it. But for me, it wasn't about being a pirate and being a cartoon character. And hit spamming sort of like catchphrases and walking the plank and doing the big R's and having a hook for a hand and stuff like that. It wasn't about that. What I wanted was, okay, who were pirates? What did they do? Why did they do what they did? And ultimately, they were normal people who felt betrayed by the crown, by the elite at the time, and they decided they didn't want none of it, and they decided to try and go and find their own freedom, right? So, and then they were vilified for it. And yeah, they wanted gold and stuff because they just wanted the riches that they felt that they were owed and stuff like that. And I won't get into all of that sort of stuff, but it was very much like, how can I bring that mentality, because history typically repeats itself? How can I bring that, and I can create this character that wants to bring back that mentality of sort of fighting for yourself and for gold and for your own riches and not really worrying about everyone else, but that he doesn't still believe he lives in the 1800s. He does live in 2025. He does have a mobile phone. He does know how to drive a car, but still loves the idea and the openness of the sea and everything else. And it's trying to blend that and create this new modern version. So like with my gear, it's like, it's very piratey, but it's a modern take on it. And the promos, there are, you know, innuendo, and there is like reference to piracy and to rum and to everything else, but it's still about trying to keep that character firmly grounded in 2025. And that was the only stipulation for me. I needed to keep it modern and modern day pirate, because I could easily go out there with the big hats and the big fluffy coats, and I could give an eye patch, and I could do the sword, and I could do the everyone's going to know exactly what I'm doing. The problem with something like that is, at what point do you just become the comedy gimmick? At what point do you stop, or do you ever get taken as seriously as a serious competitor? So it was about being able to work a character, to be a character, to have a really cool look, and to be able to theme music, and to be able to do all that stuff. But when it comes to the bell ringing, there is a seriousness to it. And obviously, like, as a babyface, I can have more fun and I can play around, and especially with the more, I would say, child-friendly crowds, there is a little bit more walking the plank, and there is a little bit more because that's what they want. But when I come to the more adult crowds and stuff like that, they want to see this pirate hit hard. They want to see the big moves. They want to see the slams. They want to see a little bit more grit and a little bit more determination. So it's about tweaking the approach to different shows. But ultimately, the pirate is, it's a modern pirate. It's a mentality more than it is a man who lives in a different age mentally.
That's it. And as well, that's the wonder of the wrestling ring, the arena or the venue, or wherever you are, stuff like that works. Like I said, putting that modern day spin on it, it's just having the mentality of, like, I'm here for myself. I'm owed this, or I want that title because I feel like I'm owed it, kind of thing. I'm breaking away on my own because that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I want that gold. I want that belt as a reward, or the wrestling ring allows you to have some sort of direction. You can take that modern day spin on it, and you can channel it, and you can hone it, and you can direct it towards the belt, and it works perfectly. And it doesn't, like I say, it's not comic-y, it's not comedy or anything like that. It makes sense.
Yeah, and I love comedy wrestling, and I'll do comedy wrestling, but I also love that hard-hitting, fast-paced indie wrestling too. Like, and that's the fun bit, being able to move my character to wherever it needs to fit. So, if he wants people to like him, there's a very distinct way that there is an act, and there is a way of behaving. And when not so much, there's a very different way, but they are the same person. It's just a different attitude, and you can move motivations between those areas, and you can almost blur the lines at points as well. And that was important, like, where having a character that can do all of it, because you're going to open up all these opportunities potentially long term. Because, and I had this with United Wrestling. I had, through all training, it was going to be babyface pirate. Like, it's not going to be, you're not going to be a bad guy. Everyone will love it. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And you make mistakes when you first go to new promotions. And the one thing I made the mistake of when I went to United on that, literally, like I said, day after my first ever singles match, was just assuming that I was a babyface. I didn't ask the question. I didn't clarify. And it was only when someone came up to me later on and was like, by the way, end of the show, we're putting someone through a table. And I was like, why would I do that? Because I just had it in my head. I was like, I'm a babyface. Like, this is not what babyfaces do. So I went up to the promoter, Mike, who now I know very well. I would like to say that we're really good friends. We talk a lot. He took a big chance on me at the time, and all the guys at United Wrestling are absolutely incredible. And I love that place. It is a second home promotion. Again, and it happens in breweries. What is better for a pirate than being able to wrestle in a brewery? It's literally like me all over. It's incredible. And he was like, no, I need you as a heel today. And I was like, oh, I've not done that before. So it was very much like on the spot. learn. Like the plan I'd just be together. It was only a gauntlet match. I was only in the match for maybe 5 to 6 minutes. And everything I had just planned needed a full rework because all of a sudden I wasn't upbeat babyface. I was a heel, and my music that was playing was very, very babyface because that's what I'd sent across the day before. And so having to try and shut that down early through the curtain, as it were, or down the stairs as it is in a tap social in Oxford, into the ring, do my bit, and then get out. Like I got so many like compliments and great feedback afterwards, and I was a heel there for, I want to say, a year. It's just about a year, yeah. No, it would have been less than. It would have been about 10, 11 months. I turned babyface there not long after I dislocated my shoulder, and yeah, it's been like the only promotion so far where I've done any sort of change from one side of the character to the other. Everywhere else has remained consistent with where I've started in terms of alignment. So yeah, they're the first ones that have got me to do it. And because I was injured, I couldn't turn babyface the way we wanted to do it because I wasn't able to physically wrestle. So I had to do it just during a promo, which is so hard because I've been an asshole for 9 months, 10 months in both the venues that they're operating, and all of a sudden it's here's a microphone, go and get them behind you. And I was like, oh, I have an idea. I'm hurt. I'm just going to use my injury and talk about respect and stuff like that. And it was probably one of the better live promos I've done since sort of being given a live mic time, which I absolutely love. I'm a sucker for live mic time. Give me that microphone. I want to tell you a bit of a story. You know, it helps. You can tell stuff with your eyes. You can tell stuff with how you feel. Sometimes you need to spell it out.
Dude, that's the thing. It's because that's a great way of doing it, though. Like Scott said, using the injury. I mean, obviously the injury sucks. And it's never a cool thing, but it helps kind of. I know you look at like any heel that's out for a certain amount of time. When they come back from injury, they're always going to get that babyface pop. It's all the fans are like, "Yeah, we're so happy you're back." Or you can use, like you sort of said, I'm going to come back for you guys, or like sort of respect. And it must have been weird though, like I said, to go from heel to, because it always in the back of your mind, you're going to be like, are they just going to buy it? Are they actually? So the thing about heels as well is like, it's so hard to kind of, I imagine it's so hard to become a solid heel, to get the boos when people kind of want to cheer you because they respect what you do or they enjoy what you do. Obviously, your instinct is to be like, yay, and they're like, no, crap, I meant to boo them. They're a bad guy. You kind of got to, as a fan, we have to remind ourselves, like, oh no, boo. But inside, hey, bravo. So that's why, again, like your Randy Ortons and stuff are such cool heels. They eventually babyface themselves.
Yeah, that's the bit that's really difficult because obviously you want the negative reaction. Obviously, you don't want people to want you to go away, but you also want people to give you shit for being that bad guy, right? And I was sort of getting to the point I felt at United where some people were starting to cheer me because they were like, "This pirate is cool. Like, yeah, he's really angry and he shouts a lot, but like, pirates are cool. We like them, And I feel like at Sacrifice is more where I've managed to get that doesn't happen as much. There are a couple, and I don't know their names, but there is a group of like 3 or 4 lads that always sit immediately left of the curtain when I come through, and they chant "Plunder Taker" at me, and I'm like, yes, boys, but please boo me because this is not what I want. But you can play up to that. There's stuff you can do with it, and there are always going to be those people in the crowd that want to be a bit different and they want to cheer the bad guys because there are cool bad guys out there. Don't get me wrong. There are ones that you resonate with. There's ones that you like. I mean, it does happen. But yeah, going from the heel to the baby face is really difficult because it's justifying that in your head of why all of a sudden you want them to like you and you like them. That was the bit for me that like it wasn't the turn itself on that particular show. It was my first match back where I was like, are they going to even react? Because I wasn't wrestling again at United for another 3 months after that. Like, I'd gone down and I was doing commentary with Tej, like live. I was there helping, and I was there just chatting away every single time, and people could see me and whatever else, but I kept a very low profile. People did keep asking when I was going to be back and stuff because I was still in a sling, but I was, out of the way. So turn babyface in the May, and then there was nothing from me then until I was ready to come back. And I actually can't. I'm going to have a quick look because I have notes in front of me. I want to see when my first match back for United. It was actually July 21st in Wantage, and then not long after that, returned to the Tap Social in the August against Memes. But yeah, the Wanted show, there wasn't a lot of regulars there anyway, so like that was a little bit easier to sort of be in front of more neutral crowd and a neutral ground, and I was working against the big heel in Simon Quest, and it was that was fine. But yeah, like that first day out in the Tap to go out there and be a babyface, I was like, well, luckily working against someone like Memes, who at the time had such a huge amount of heat, was easy to get that sort of reaction. And since then it's been fine. But yeah, there is a concern in your head that you're not going to get the reaction you want, because if that turn doesn't resonate with someone, they're like, and they don't feel like it makes sense, why are they going to cheer you? Because they're like, yeah, they don't care enough, And the same as like if heel turns don't have that impact and a good enough reason as to why you can do it, like not even a good enough reason, sometimes you want it to be a bit of a ropey reason to sort of be like, for people to be annoyed that you've done it, but you sort of like, if they don't care, it all comes down to the storytelling, right? You need people to care about it before you do anything, and if you don't give people the time to invest, it's not going to happen.
No, definitely. I was going to say, yeah, it's all about planting the seeds. It's all about the story. Like, I think, like, for me personally, the best bad guys are, I'm a massive comic book nerd. I love, and for me, all the best bad guys are ones who are right in the mindset. It's just, they're just way too excessive about it, or, they're just, they're going about it in completely the wrong way.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is right. Obviously, like your Magnetos, your Thanoses and stuff like that. The logic behind it is like, yeah, shit, dude, you've got a point. You're all right, but mate, too far.
Yeah, you don't have to kill half of everybody. Like you don't have to destroy anyone who's not a mutant. It's it's and
logic.
Yeah, exactly. And most films will tell you that story, right? Like there won't be. Sometimes in more fantasy films, you'll see like the bad guy just doesn't care, wants domination over the entire universe. But there are some that are so human with their motives. They normally have to throw something in there that is so disgusting just to make you dislike them and go, he's gone too far. And that's almost what you got to do. It's wrestling is storytelling with stunt work. It's panto. You have to take the same things that the skills that showrunners use in things like film and in things like TV series, and Hustle Malone is so much more knowledgeable about this sort of aspect of storytelling than I am, and I've learned loads from him, and that's what sort of helps even with structuring a match. Why is this thing happening? What are we trying to achieve? What part are we trying to tell here? Is there an injury? Is there struggle? Is there angst? It could be anything. What do we want? What's the outcome? What's the goal? If that is just a singles match, it's easier, but if that singles match or that match is leading somewhere else, what are the story beats that needs to be hit to highlight these key areas of like, we're trying to breadcrumb you, like follow us, like this is where we're taking you, and trust me, it's going to be great when you get to the end, and that's what you want.
Exactly. I'm a big fan of like people talk to me about stuff. The 3 W's kind of things, like why, what, or where, kind of thing. Why are you doing this? What's it mean? Where's it going? That's your 3 aspects. If you can tell me something, you'd be like, oh, I want to do this. All right, cool. Why? you know, what's it for? Where's it going? You know, tell me what happens next. Don't tell me about this. Tell me what you want to do after that kind of thing. That's why I'm interested. I want to see where it goes. If it's not going to go anywhere, then why do it?
Yeah, exactly. And Paul Heyman talks about it perfectly with wrestling storytelling, right? He's like, you plan when you want the end and what the end goal is, and then you work backwards. And then you need to know exactly where you need to hit other things, so it like goes across in a fashion that makes sense. You know, you don't plan from the beginning because you can get lost in going, oh, but we could also do this and we can do this, and things spur off. If you know where your end goal is, it's a lot more of a straight line, and you can tell that story a lot easier. And that's, you know,
wiggle. You just like, you say you just kind of cross it over, looping. It was like the world's best skate electrics track or something. It's like, oh, dude, I just clocked the time, mate. Sorry, I said I'll keep you for about an hour. We've just gone way over, so apologies. But
it's my fault. I can talk for ages.
Dude, the less I talk, the better. But what I've got to talk about half of the stuff I was going to sort of talk about. So, you know, put a pin in it for now, and then hopefully we'll do it again down the line.
100%, whenever.
Yeah, dude. And obviously, when you've made after I've seen the new boots at Tidal, we'll sort of, you want to see where that's going, because I want to see what they've got lined up for you. Like I say, if you was getting a shot at the Iron Will title already, you know, I'm expecting awesome things this year, you know, not just at Tidal, but everywhere. You know, like I say, you're that kind of person where I think if you're on a show, they're going to use you to your full advantage. They're going to book you smart, and you're going to do some awesome stuff.
I hope so. Spike Trivet is a dream opponent of mine, and is currently holding something very shiny. So, with any luck,
dude, yeah, that'd be amazing. Because obviously, I know him and Chris have crossed paths recently. So you know, if you step up next and just like, just you two, just poor Spike will be like, no, that's it, I'm out, I'm done. No more.
Stop throwing them at me.
I'm on Pirates. That's it. I'm out. You know, there's only much a vulture can take. So, but I mean, hopefully, when that's the kind of stuff that gets me hyped. You know, now you've kind of put that into my head. I'm like, ooh, that would be very, very cool. I would like to see that somewhere, anywhere, to kind of just, yeah. But again, you know, you're saying that, and that'd be what, 4 years into, so we'll say 3 years into the journey, you know, if you can get that match against Spike early doors again, it just vouchers for what you've achieved.
I have got a list. I've got a little wish list of this year. I'm not one of the people who like to post it on socials. I just want to see things happen organically. You know, and I never know, I might post it at the end of the year and just say, like, this is what I wanted to do, this is what I managed to achieve, this is what I didn't. Let's see if some of these people will turn up next year. But you know, I'm lucky. I've managed to work with Charles Crowley. I've managed to work with Alexis Falcon. I've managed to work with Michael Oku. I've managed to work Harley Hudson. You know, there's more. You know, Simon Quest was someone I really wanted to work with before he decided to retire, and he gave me his last match at United. I retired him, which was just a huge honor and lots of emotion. You know, I've got to work with Tommy Kyle like 3 times this year, who's someone who's been so heavily involved in my development. So and for him to do that at different intervals through the year and see the difference, like genuinely, we worked in January, we worked in August, and we worked in December. He was my first and last match of the year, so he's seen that year through matches that we've had together. And it's just like, that's just been so much fun to have. So this year I've decided to put a little list together, and Spike is firmly at the top of that list.
You made the list. It's a Jericho gift of, yes, mate, that's awesome. Well, fingers crossed, you know, it's out there in the universe now, it'll manifest itself. You know, I really, really want to sort of see that. So if anybody watching this can make that happen, that would be amazing. But no, dude, well, like I said, we'll put a pin in it. I'm just going to start rambling again soon if I don't. So let people know where they can find you on the socials, and obviously, yeah, where they can kind of keep an eye out for shows that you are on.
Yeah, if you search me on YouTube, like, my matches do come up. Podcasts come up, like, everything's I've done. I'm at @a_Skurro on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and Instagram, and I'm Arthur Skurro on Facebook as well. I've got my own page on there. Threads is at @a_Skurro as well. Links linked directly to my Instagram page. So yeah, like pop me DMs. I actually just released a merch sale today for bundles, trying to get rid of an old design done by the lovely Fast Count, and they may or may not have also done a new one coming up this year for me.
Ooh.
Spoiler.
Well, you know, I'd like to sort of say I know about this, given that I do their socials, but I know nothing at the minute. So, sure, I will just get the finished article if it is out there as of whenever it is ready to be shared on the socials. So, but no, that's it. Obviously, you know, we'll tag you and stuff when we post this episode, when we let people know this episode is out to watch. My boy Ash will tag you on Insta. We'll probably drop you a message just to make sure that everything is good or that you approve of his song choice. Tag you on Twitter, tag you on Facebook. And dude, it's just been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you so much. And thank you as well for, you know, I haven't really had to do much talking this episode, so I've been thoroughly sitting here listening to you tell stories. That's what makes me smile. So
No, thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
Dude, obviously everybody else, thank you for watching. Hit like, subscribe, share, comment, do all the generic stuff I ask you to do at the end of every episode. Keep your eyes peeled. We've got another episode coming out later this week where it is myself, DJ King, and Bobby Cash talking about the Royal Rumble 89 in the second episode of Royally Rumbled. So until that drops, you know, yeah, be cool. And remember, always work the left side. Goodbye.